first wanted to talk a little bit about how I see this politically and what's been happening around the country. I think for many people, they see rightly that climate change presents a world of dangers. But I also think, as you all know from being here today, that it also presents a world of opportunities. I'm an optimist. In our state, we brought the world everything from the pacemaker to the Post-it note. We believe in science. We believe in technology. We believe that we can confront these challenges of climate change, and we can do it in a way, if we do it right, that creates good jobs and builds a more vibrant economy for our country. And part of my devotion to this issue has not only come from what I've seen, but from my constituents. And I can tell you there's been a political sea change just the last year or so, because when I was running for Senate and going all over the state of Minnesota, people want to talk about energy independence and ethanol and wind, but there's been a big change in people being concerned about climate change, because it used to be just 8-year-old kids with penguin buttons on that would come up to talk to me about it. And now it's hunters from Hibbing, Minnesota, who've seen a change in their wetlands. It's people who ice fish who've seen a change in their ability of when they can put their fish house out. It's small city councils in Lanesboro, Minnesota, who've decided to switch out their light bulbs. It's people who are in the barge business up on Lake Superior who've seen that the lake is at its lowest level in 80 years because the water has evaporated, because the ice has melted sooner. And so these are the things that we're seeing all across our state. And it's created a political momentum that we hadn't had, I'd say, even a year or two ago. But the other piece of it, the opportunity piece, I've also seen in fine form across our state. I've seen the massive wind farms in southern Minnesota that are making a very important contribution to our state's electricity supply, and they've become so popular. I think we're third in the country for wind, that they've actually opened up a bed and breakfast near Pipestone, Minnesota. And I had a big debate with Lamar Alexander on the Senate floor, who's not a big fan of wind, and I told him that in our state that the wind turbines were romantic, and that I invited him, as I invite all of you. You can visit this bed and breakfast. The package deal is that you can go down to Pipestone, you stay in the bed and breakfast, and you wake up in the morning and look at a wind turbine. That's it. That's the deal. I went in January when it was about 20 below zero to Starbuck, Minnesota, a very small town where they have a solar panel factory with just 10 employees. All these employees have left other jobs and decided to take a risk in this new area. And they're very excited about their product, very good. They had me jump up and down on the solar panels to show that they could withstand hail damage. I think they have that on the video. It could be the end of on their website, my end of my career. But there's just a lot of large-scale projects going, but there's also small-scale projects like that. The University of Minnesota at Morris has a cutting-edge research on burning biomass fuel to save on fossil fuels. These projects, just one example, and I'm sure you have them in all of your states, are reducing our dependence on fossil fuels, saving money for middle-class families, and creating good jobs. Because the truth is that meeting challenges is what our country does best. And whenever I talk to some groups, especially more senior groups, I try to make the analogy to them about the space race, which they all remember. It began with the launch of Sputnik in October 1957, where American citizens listened with indignation and fear as the first man-made satellite, a Soviet satellite, beeped its way around the Earth. Yet it inspired our country and its universities to make an historic investment in math and science and education. Within a decade, our country tripled the number of science and engineering PhDs. You see, the space program wasn't just a success because we put a man on the moon before the Soviets. What it was mostly successful, as you look at history, was that it spurred countless other innovations in industries, such as weather satellites, solar technology, digital wristwatch, ultrasound machines, laser surgery, infrared medical thermometers, pacemakers, satellite TV broadcasts, high-density batteries, high-speed long-distance telephone service, automatic insulin pumps, CAT scans, radiation-blocking sunglasses, and for our family at the time in the early 70s, the most important, those little chocolate space sticks that we would take on camping trips. Well, our current energy dependence crisis and the interrelated challenges of climate change need a similar response. Today, it's not a Russian satellite streaming across our skies that should galvanize our nation into action. Foreign hybrids speeding down our highways when our own car manufacturers have been a little slow to act. It is the multiplying smokestacks in China, and it is the receding glaciers in Greenland and Antarctica, and it is the rapidly rising global temperatures. It's the fact that the European Union is leading the global climate change negotiations instead of our own country, which has always been proud of taking leadership around the world. But just as Sputnik sparked a new age of American prosperity and opportunity, these trends can lead to opportunities for the strengthening of our economy and renewing our leadership in the world. The business community recognizes this promise. I know you've heard from people today. We've certainly heard from them in Washington, CEOs from major corporations like DuPont and Duke Energy, General Electric. They see the opportunities. High-tech entrepreneurs in our country want to develop these technologies. In 2006, venture capital investment in green technologies in the United States reached $2.9 billion, up 78% from a year earlier. Not only is clean technology the fastest growing venture capital sector, it is now the third largest category behind only biotech and computer software. Certainly, as we see from the steelworkers' strong role with this conference today and the work they're doing across the country, that unions and workers see the possibility here. They don't want our country to be stuck back in the fossil age where we will lose jobs instead of looking to a new world where we can gain jobs. The irony is that we developed a lot of these technologies here in the United States, but yet we still now rank third in wind power production behind Denmark and Spain. We rank third in photovoltaic power. I always say solar because I'm afraid I'm going to mispronounce. This is the first time I said photovoltaic power. I'll say it again. Yes. Behind Germany and Japan. And ironically, these countries surpassed us largely by adopting technologies that had been first developed here in the United States. And our foreign competition was able to leapfrog over American businesses because these other countries had more investment-driven governments that were willing to make the bold decisions to put incentives out there, not just for 1 year, not just for 6 months, but for long-term investment that encourage the kind of investment that we need to really bring the jobs to our country. The question we really face is this: does the United States want to be a leader in creating the new green technologies and the new green industries of the future, or are we just going to sit back and let these opportunities pass us? This is where responsibility in Washington comes into play. But we can hunker down anymore and pretend it's not happening, not based on what I've seen in Greenland, not based on what I'm hearing from the people in our state, and not based on what I see as this amazing opportunity that instead of sending all this money over to the oil cartels in the Mideast, we should be investing in the farmers and the workers of the Midwest. I'm with you today to say that we cannot afford to fail. We have the imagination, and we have the knowledge, and we have the research and the skills and the great people to do the work. And we also have the commitment. I know that my constituents didn't send me to Washington to watch idly by while this country sits mired in the politics of business as usual. They sent me because they imagined. And I know all of you wouldn't be here today when you could be doing a lot of other things with your Fridays. You chose to come together across geographic lines and across economic lines and across environmental lines and across blue lines and green lines because you too imagine. Thank you very much, and let's get to work.